Hi everyone. Today I decide to talk about something that is quite different, which is how to conduct a case study. First of all, case study it's something that we do in applied linguistics. It's a way of getting data and also analyzing data, and most importantly, to report your data findings of the study you are conducting. So, in applied linguistics, mainly we have two types of doing research. The first one is quantitative, which is again directed to getting some kind of outcome, and the qualitative one, which is basically related to the process of doing this and also the process. It's more like being descriptive. So, what is case study? A case study is just selecting one kind of phenomena related to one individual, or let's say one bound system, and trying to figure out more information about it. That's why, if you think about it, we have three main types of qualitative research when it comes to case studies. The first one is doing like intrinsic study, second one is doing like instrumental study, and finally, we're having collective or multiple studies. As for the first side, we focus mainly on one person. Like, for example, you need to know more about his life and the way he is, again, leading his life, what kind of community he's part of, or what kind of job he's doing. So, all of this would be intrinsically oriented. The second type, which is an instrumental one, basically we take into account and a participants, but in a wider context, like, for example, the belief system, the environment he's living in, the people he is around, and also the kind of education, let's say educational background, cultural background. How many languages do he speak, and stuff like that. And then we have collective studies, and in this case, you are focusing on more than just one participants, but working on a wider context, like taking into account all the different factors and elements affecting this phenomenon. But most importantly, what you need to ask yourself, how can I get information for my case study? We have like interview. This is the easiest way of getting information to interview. Again, you need to have to find your participants and you need to interview them. And in this case, you have two types of interview, like closed interview, like we're having some kind of question, like what's your name? How old are you? These kind of question, their answers are quite expected, but and also we don't have too much space to add information related to answering these questions. And the other type, or the other techniques of getting information has to do with observation. And also, you need to keep in mind we have two types of observation. We have direct observation and we have participant observation. And direct observation, you're just there observing the person. Maybe you're not involved with them in any way, shape, or form, but you're just taking notes, you're just trying to videotape or whatever you're doing to collect your data, but you're not, again, involved in any shape, form, or in any form, shape, or way with this kind of participants. But in a participant's observation, in this case, you're taking part on what is you're taking part in what is going on, but also at the same time you're acting like a researcher. So basically, you're doing two types of tasks. First, as being a participant, second, as being a researcher. Then we're having like videotaping or just like trying to get your data in different forms, like, for example, writing down diaries or asking your participant to keep a diary or journal, and also you're taking notes, or even you're trying to find your information in different ways. And remember, one of the key kernel ways of doing qualitative studies is to diversify your data collection. Because again, think of this as, again, you're sitting in a VAR room if you are watching, if you're familiar with the terminology or the literacy of football, Or if you are just bidding in a race of horses and you need to know which horse again hit the finish line. So in this case, taking one shot from one angle might not be accurate. So what you need to do is to keep your cameras from different angles. And in this case, the burden of verifying your results does not lie in just one angle, or it's you're trying to keep your internal validity of research you're doing. And in this case, you are providing different ways of getting the information. You're developing a pattern, let's say, for example, from doing interviews, from doing questionnaires, from doing surveys, from observation, from diaries, or even from the field notes. One more thing that you need to keep in mind that whenever you're having this, you should again try to make sure that your study is valid. And how can I do that? By first of all keeping self-reflexivity, meaning you need to reflect on your techniques, your again selection of the participants. And the second one is the methodology reflexivity. And in this case, you're thinking about the methodology. Let's say, for example, you ask your participants to keep a journal. You need to ask yourself, why did I ask them to keep a journal instead of interviewing them? What is the best method to collect data? What is the best way to analyze data? Do I need to include this? Do I need to ask this question? Do I need, for example, to get some other source of information? So you need to keep this in mind. One more thing to again enhance the validity of your research is to keep in mind that you're following all these steps of case study, like you collected your data, you contextualize it, you introduce the phenomena to your reader, and most importantly, you have a method and you reported your data. And I guess that's all we need to know about a case study. So we talked about what is a case study, how can we do it, and how can we enhance its validity, and what are the different techniques of collecting data when you're conducting case study. But one more thing that is really crucial when it comes to case studies is, should we just select one person or it could be something else? If you think about it, it could be one person, and in this case, this person represents a system, or it could be a class. In this case, it's a case study, it's just a morphology class or a phonetic class or something like this. And it could be like an organization or an institution, like, for example, a certain university, a certain kind of program. Or it could be a social rule, like, for example, you are discussing people who are husbands or housewives. So here you're targeting a social rules. And in this case, we're not having one individual, we're having like 20 or 50 of them, but we're having just one social rule in mind. If this makes sense, or if you have any question or comments or concern, please feel free to share it with me down in the comment boxes. See you guys, and thank you.